Who would you turn gay for?
Who would I? I have this feeling that whoever I say, they're going to get this.
Golden Age Hollywood had strict rules, especially for black actors. Being caught in a same-sex relationship meant career destruction. Yet some risked everything for love. FBI files, hidden letters, and insider leaks prove it. And one star's story is truly heartbreaking. Number 20, Juano Hernandez. Juano Hernandez was a pioneer in Hollywood, breaking barriers for black actors long before it was common. But what many don't know is that his personal life was just as intriguing as his career. His relationships were whispered about, but never confirmed. Hernandez, a native of Puerto Rico, became one of the first black actors to receive critical acclaim for his work in Intruder in the Dust, 1949. He was praised for his commanding screen presence and powerful performances, but his personal life remained largely hidden from the public eye. Unlike many actors of his era, he never married or had widely known romantic partners. Some Hollywood insiders suggest that Hernandez was part of an elite, underground LGBTQ+ circle, a group of high-profile black entertainers who had to keep their relationships private to survive. In those days, even rumors of homosexuality could end an actor's career, so any relationships he may have had were kept in the shadows. Close friends described him as intensely private, with a personal life that was off limits, even to those closest to him. There are no direct records of same-sex relationships, but considering the time period, that isn't surprising. Many stars of his era carefully erased any trace of their true selves from the public record. One thing is certain, Hernandez was a trailblazer in more ways than one, and if his rumored personal life was true, he wasn't alone. Another major black star from his time also had to keep secrets, and his story is even more fascinating. Number 19, Nick Stewart. Nick Stewart was a man of many talents, an actor, comedian, and a voice artist. But Hollywood wasn't ready for his real story. Behind the laughter and charm, Stewart lived a life that few ever knew about, and its connections might shock you. Best known for voicing Briar Bear in Song of the South, 1946, and for his role in Amos and Andy, Stewart had a long and complicated relationship with Hollywood. While he entertained millions on screen, off-screen he was part of a secret world that few people spoke about. During the golden age of Hollywood, powerful studios controlled everything about their stars' lives. For black actors, the restrictions were even tighter. Being involved in a same-sex relationship wasn't just frowned upon, it could destroy a career overnight. And Stewart had every reason to be careful. Although he was married to Edna Stewart for decades, insiders suggest that their marriage was one of convenience, a carefully crafted public image to protect his real relationships. Rumors persisted that Stewart had secret affairs with men, but like many black entertainers of his era, he had to keep any evidence hidden. In a rare interview, Stewart once hinted at the pressure of Hollywood's racial and social barriers, saying, "We had to play the game or we didn't work." Some believe this was a double meaning, not just about racial discrimination, but about personal freedom. Stewart's story is fascinating, but the next star on our list took even greater risks. His life was filled with danger, FBI surveillance, and a secret world of power that most actors never dared to enter. And what happened to him might shock you. Number 18, Rex Ingram. Rex Ingram had the kind of presence that commanded attention, whether he was playing a god in The Green Pastures or a powerful villain in classic Hollywood films. But behind the camera, Ingram lived a life full of mystery, secrets, and whispered rumors about forbidden love. He was one of the most striking figures of his time, tall, charismatic, and intensely talented. But unlike many actors who lived in the Hollywood spotlight, Ingram kept his personal life locked away. He never publicly acknowledged any romantic relationships, and his closest friends often said he was a deeply private man. That level of secrecy in Hollywood usually meant one thing: there was something to hide. And for Ingram, speculation ran rampant. Some claimed he was part of Hollywood's underground LGBTQ+ scene. a tight-knit group of elite black actors, musicians, and artists who had to keep their personal lives hidden to protect their careers. Ingram never married, and there were no publicly known long-term partners. But Hollywood historians have pointed to private correspondences and insider accounts that suggest he had relationships with men, ones he had to keep completely secret due to the severe social and professional risks. His career was groundbreaking, and his legacy as a black actor in Golden Age Hollywood remains legendary. But there's another star, one who wasn't just an actor, but a civil rights activist. And his story involves something even bigger than Hollywood. It involves the FBI. Number 17, Canada Lee. Canada Lee wasn't just a Hollywood star, he was a revolutionary. A boxer turned actor, he used his fame to fight for racial justice. But with that activism came surveillance, and the FBI knew everything about him, including the rumors about his secret relationships. Lee was a powerful actor, known for Lifeboat, 1944, and his roles in Broadway productions that challenged racial stereotypes. He was one of the few black actors in Hollywood who refused to play subservient roles, instead demanding dignity and depth in his characters. But behind the scenes, his personal life was far more complicated. The FBI kept detailed files on Lee, not just because of his political activism, but also because of his personal affairs. According to some reports, he was part of a social network that included other black artists who had to keep their same-sex relationships hidden. In the 1940s and 1950s, being suspected of homosexuality was just as dangerous as being accused of communism, and it could end your career or worse. Lee's mysterious connections and political activities led to intense scrutiny, and Hollywood eventually blacklisted him. He went from being a rising star to struggling for work, ultimately passing away at just 45 years old. Some say it was stress. Others say it was the price he paid for being ahead of his time. Lee's story is heartbreaking, but he wasn't the only actor who had to live under Hollywood's strict rules. Up next is a man who made history, on screen and behind the scenes. But even with all his success, he had to keep his love life in the shadows. Number 16, Clarence Muse. Clarence Muse wasn't just an actor, he was a pioneer. He became the first black man to star in a lead role in a sound film, breaking barriers long before Hollywood was ready. But while his career was celebrated, his personal life was a mystery. Muse was a multi-talented figure, an actor, writer, composer, and director. He appeared in over 150 films and fought against the stereotypical roles Hollywood forced upon black actors. Yet, despite being such a public figure, there were barely any records of his personal relationships. This wasn't just unusual, it was almost unheard of. Most actors had a public love life, often orchestrated by the studios. But Muse? Well, he kept everything private. Some historians believe this was because he had relationships that Hollywood wouldn't have accepted. Muse was known for mentoring young black actors, and some insiders claimed he was part of Hollywood's hidden LGBTQ+ elite. During his time, being openly gay would have ended his career immediately. So, if he did have same-sex relationships, he made sure no evidence remained. But unlike Muse, the next actor on our list had rumors following him his entire career. He was one of Hollywood's first black leading men, and his personal life was filled with speculation, some of it backed by shocking details. Number 15, James Edwards. James Edwards was one of the first black actors to break into leading roles, proving that black men could be serious, complex, and heroic on screen. But despite his success, his career was constantly overshadowed by whispers about his personal life. Edwards was the first black actor to star in a Hollywood war film, The Steel Helmet, 1951, a role that should have catapulted him to stardom. But unlike other actors, he didn't become a household name. Why? Some say it was racism. Others say it was because of what Hollywood knew about him behind the scenes. Many in the industry speculated Edwards was involved in same-sex relationships, something that could instantly ruin an actor's career in the 1950s. Some even believed he was blacklisted, not officially, but subtly pushed out of leading roles in favor of actors who fit the acceptable image Hollywood wanted. Despite the rumors, Edwards never married and had no publicly known relationships with women. His later years were filled with missed opportunities and unexplained career stalls, leading some to believe that Hollywood had quietly turned its back on him. His legacy remains, but the full truth about his life is still unknown. However, the next person on this list is even more surprising. He played one of the most iconic roles in film history, yet few know the secrets he carried with him behind the scenes. Number 14, Dooley Wilson. Dooley Wilson's voice is immortal. His performance as Sam in Casablanca made movie history, playing the piano while singing As Time Goes By. But what Hollywood didn't want you to know? His personal life was as mysterious as the song itself. Wilson wasn't just an actor. He was a talented musician who had been performing in jazz clubs long before Hollywood came calling. He was known for his charm, his smooth voice, and his effortless presence on screen. But off-screen, he kept his private life under lock and key. Unlike most stars of his era, Wilson had almost no public record of romantic relationships. For a Hollywood actor, this was unusual, especially considering how studios often arranged relationships for their stars. Some historians believe this was because Wilson had relationships that would have ended his career instantly. There were whispers among industry insiders that Wilson was connected to Hollywood's underground LGBTQ+ circles, a network of stars who had to live double lives. Some of his closest friendships were with actors and musicians who were also rumored to be part of that scene. Even after his death, no official confirmation ever surfaced about his love life, but his silence only added to the speculation. And the next name on our list? He wasn't just a famous actor, he was a powerhouse in Hollywood's business world. But even success couldn't protect him from rumors. Number 13, Noble Johnson. Noble Johnson was more than just an actor. He was one of the first black filmmakers in Hollywood. He played everything from pharaohs to Native American chiefs, proving that black actors could be powerful figures on screen. But his personal life? That was another story. Johnson wasn't just respected in Hollywood, he was feared. He founded the Lincoln Motion Picture Company, the first black-owned film studio in America, and he had the connections to back it up. But despite his success, there was one thing he never talked about: his relationships. He never married, never had a public partner, and kept his private life completely out of the spotlight. In early Hollywood, this was rare, and for someone with his level of influence, it raised questions. Rumors followed him for years. Some speculated that Johnson had relationships with men, but kept them private to protect his business empire. Others believed he was part of an elite group of black entertainers who had to hide their true identities to maintain their success. Whatever the truth was, Johnson took it to his grave. But his legacy as a Hollywood pioneer remains. And if you thought his story was fascinating, wait until you hear about our next actor. He was the father of a Hollywood legend, and his secrets might be even bigger. Number 12, Robert Earl Jones. Robert Earl Jones was a Hollywood veteran, a man with a deep, commanding voice and a screen presence that demanded attention. But did you know he was also the father of James Earl Jones? And yet, there's another side to his story that Hollywood never talked about. Unlike many actors of his time, Robert Earl Jones was never fully tied to one public relationship. He was married multiple times, but there were long periods in his life where he kept everything private. And for an actor moving in Hollywood's elite circles, that was unusual. Insiders claim that Jones was involved in Hollywood's hidden LGBTQ+ community, a network of black artists who had to keep their personal lives out of the public eye. He was a deeply private man, and even his son, James Earl Jones, rarely spoke about his father's personal relationships. Even though Jones had multiple marriages, rumors persisted that he had relationships that were never meant to be known by the public. Some even believe that his early exit from Hollywood had more to do with his personal life than with his career struggles. Whether true or not, Jones remains a fascinating figure in Hollywood's history. And speaking of Hollywood legends, Our next name is someone who danced his way to fame, but behind the scenes, his personal life was far more complicated than most people realize. Number 11, Harold Nicholas. Harold Nicholas was half of the Nicholas brothers, the greatest tap dancing duo in Hollywood history. But while audiences were amazed by his breathtaking performances, few knew about the personal battles he had to fight behind the scenes. Nicholas and his brother Fayard were Hollywood royalty, performing alongside legends like Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire. But unlike those stars, Harold's personal life was kept under wraps. While he had relationships with women and was married, rumors always followed him. During the height of his career, Harold was linked to Hollywood's underground LGBTQ+ circles. Some insiders believe that while he played the part of a charming ladies' man in public, his personal life was much more complex than people ever knew. Nicholas was fiercely private, and any rumors about his relationships were carefully erased by Hollywood's power players. Studios went to extreme lengths to protect their biggest stars from controversy, and for black actors, that protection often came with strict conditions: stay quiet or lose everything. Whether the stories about Harold Nicholas were true or not, one thing is certain: he left behind a legacy that changed Hollywood forever. But while he danced his way into history, the next person on our list sang his way into the hearts of millions, yet his private life was one of Hollywood's biggest mysteries. Number 10, Billy Daniels. Billy Daniels was the kind of performer who could light up a stage with just his voice. His rendition of That Old Black Magic made him a household name, and his suave, charismatic presence made him a star. But offstage, his personal life was a closely guarded secret. Daniels had all the makings of a classic Hollywood heartthrob: good looks, a smooth voice, and an effortless charm. But while women adored him, there were constant rumors that his relationships in private didn't match his public persona. During the golden age of Hollywood, being associated with LGBTQ+ circles was a career death sentence. Yet, Daniels was often linked to people within those communities. Some insiders claimed he had close, secret relationships with men throughout his career. But because he was so well connected in the industry, the stories never made it to the press. Unlike many of his peers, Daniels never let rumors slow him down. He continued to perform well into the 1980s, even becoming one of the first black entertainers to have his own nationally televised show. But he never publicly addressed the speculation about his personal life. The truth remains a mystery, but Daniels wasn't alone in carefully managing his public image. The next name on our list? He was one of the biggest jazz icons in history, and his life offstage was just as intriguing as his music. Number 9, Cab Calloway. Cab Calloway was a true showman, a man who could captivate an audience with just his voice and his energy. His hit, Minnie the Moocher, made him a jazz legend. But what fans didn't know was that his personal life was filled with secrets. Calloway was known for his larger-than-life personality, but some believe that persona was also a cover for a life he couldn't publicly acknowledge. Throughout his career, there were persistent rumors that he had relationships with both men and women, though none were ever confirmed. He moved in elite entertainment circles, surrounded by artists, musicians, and actors who were part of Hollywood's hidden LGBTQ+ communities. Some claim that Calloway was more than just an observer; he was actively involved. One of the most famous stories about Calloway's secretive personal life comes from his time at the Cotton Club, where he was one of the biggest stars. Many entertainers in that scene lived double lives, carefully managing what the public saw with what stayed hidden behind closed doors. Calloway never spoke about the rumors, and to this day, his personal life remains a mystery. But if you think his story is shocking, wait until you hear about the next name on our list. A man who built an empire in the dance world, but paid a high price for being himself. Number 8, Alvin Ailey. Alvin Ailey didn't just change dance, he revolutionized it. He founded the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, creating a space for black dancers to thrive in an industry that often shut them out. But behind the groundbreaking performances and standing ovations, Ailey's personal life was far more complex. Unlike many on this list, Ailey was confirmed to be gay. However, he lived most of his life deep in the closet, terrified that revealing that truth would destroy his career and his legacy. In the 1950s and 1960s, being openly gay was still considered dangerous, especially for a black man in the arts. Ailey was known for his passionate, intense relationships, but he rarely spoke about them. Close friends revealed that he struggled with loneliness, caught between his public persona as a celebrated choreographer and his private reality. Some believe this internal battle contributed to his struggles with depression and substance abuse later in life. Despite the challenges, Ailey's work speaks for itself. His performances, particularly Revelations, remain some of the most important contributions to dance history. But while Ailey's legacy in the arts is undeniable, his hidden personal life reflects a painful reality, one that even some of Hollywood's biggest stars weren't able to escape. And speaking of stars, our next name was one of the most brilliant musician minds of the 20th century. He wrote some of the most famous jazz songs of all time, but his personal life? That's where the real story begins. Number 7, Billy Strayhorn. Billy Strayhorn was Duke Ellington's right-hand man, the genius behind Take a Train and countless other jazz masterpieces. But while his music was celebrated, his personal life was kept in the shadows, not by choice, but by necessity. Unlike most entertainers of his time, Strayhorn was openly gay in private circles. He was known for being unapologetically himself, but because of the strict social norms of the era, he had to keep his relationships hidden from the public eye. Strayhorn was in a long-term relationship with a man, something that was nearly unheard of in the 1940s jazz world. While his close friends and collaborators accepted him, the music industry still operated under a strict moral code. If he had been more public about his sexuality, it could have cost him everything. Despite the challenges, Strayhorn never let society's rules stop him. He was the creative force behind some of jazz's most iconic songs, and even though he didn't always get the recognition he deserved, his influence on the genre is undeniable. His story is one of courage, talent, and quiet defiance. But if you think Strayhorn's story is surprising, wait until you hear about our next name, an actress whose personal life defied every Hollywood norm and who never fit into the industry's expectations. Number 6, Butterfly McQueen. Butterfly McQueen was unforgettable as Prissy in Gone with the Wind, but what most people don't know is that her real name was far more complex than the role she played. Hollywood tried to fit her into a box, but McQueen refused to play by the rules. Unlike most actresses of her era, McQueen was never romantically linked to anyone, no husbands, no boyfriends, no scandals. This led to constant speculation about her personal life. Some assumed she was secretly involved with women, while others believed she simply rejected romance altogether. In a rare interview, McQueen once said, "I have no desire for marriage or children. I am an atheist, and I do not believe in conventional relationships." This was shocking for the time, especially in a Hollywood that forced women into traditional roles both on and off the screen. Some historians argue that McQueen was asexual, meaning she had no romantic or sexual interest in anyone. But because of the constant rumors and whispers in Hollywood's underground circles, some believe she had hidden relationships with women that she never revealed. Regardless of her personal life, McQueen's legacy is one of independence and strength. She refused to conform, and in a time when most actresses were forced into roles both professionally and personally, she stood her ground. But if you think McQueen's story is fascinating, wait until you hear about the next name, a civil rights hero who wasn't just famous for his activism, but for his secrets the FBI tried to keep hidden. Number 5, Bayard Rustin. Bayard Rustin was one of the most influential civil rights activists in American history, a mentor to Martin Luther King Jr., the mastermind behind the 1963 March on Washington, and an organizer who shaped the entire civil rights movement. But what many people don't know? He was also a black man who lived openly as gay decades before it was accepted. Unlike others on this list who had to keep their relationship secret, Rustin refused to hide who he was. But because of this, he was often sidelined, even by the civil rights leaders he helped. Some feared that if his sexuality became public knowledge, it would hurt the movement. The FBI used his sexuality against him, tracking him, blackmailing him, and trying to discredit him. He was even arrested for being in a car with another man, a charge that nearly ruined his career. But despite all of this, Rustin never stopped fighting. His courage wasn't just about civil rights, it was about refusing to be silent in a world that wanted him to disappear. He was decades ahead of his time, and while many tried to erase his name, history now recognizes him as one of the greatest leaders of his era. And if you thought Rustin's story was powerful, wait until you hear about our next name, a Harlem Renaissance legend whose boldness in both art and life made him an unforgettable figure in Black LGBTQ+ history. Number 4, Richard Bruce Nugent. Richard Bruce Nugent wasn't just an artist, he was a revolutionary. He was a writer, painter, and poet at the heart of the Harlem Renaissance, a movement that gave a voice to black artists in the early 20th century. But what made Nugent truly unique? Unlike most of his peers, he lived openly as a gay man in a time when that was nearly unthinkable. While many black actors and entertainers in Hollywood had to hide their true identities, Nugent defied the norm. He wrote boldly about queer love and desire in his groundbreaking short story Smoke, Lilies, and Jade, published in 1926. It was one of the first openly gay stories published by a black writer, and it sparked controversy in both black and white literary circles. Nugent was known for his flamboyant personality and refused to be discreet about his relationships. He was a regular at Harlem's underground gay scene, where he mingled with both black and white elites, artists, and performers. Some say he was romantically involved with other prominent figures of the Harlem Renaissance, though details remain speculative. Despite his boldness, Nugent never achieved the fame of his peers, like Langston Hughes or Zora Neale Hurston. But his influence on Black LGBTQ+ history is undeniable. His willingness to be openly gay himself paved the way for others, even though it cost him mainstream success. But if you think Nugent's story is remarkable, wait until you hear about our next name, a smooth-voiced crooner who kept Hollywood's biggest secret for decades. Number 3, Johnny Mathis. Johnny Mathis is one of the most successful recording artists of all time, with over 360 million records sold. His smooth, romantic ballads like Chances Are and Misty made him a global star. But behind the love songs, Mathis had a secret, one that Hollywood didn't want him to reveal. Mathis was one of the first mainstream black entertainers to be outed as gay. In a 1982 interview, he casually mentioned that he had always been attracted to men. That statement, though brief, caused an immediate backlash. His record label panicked, and suddenly, interviews and appearances started disappearing. Mathis later revealed that he received death threats, forcing him into silence for years. Despite this, Mathis never denied who he was. He continued to have an incredible career, with songs that defined an era of romance. But unlike many of his peers, he spent most of his life avoiding the public conversation about his relationships. It wasn't until the 2000s that Mathis began openly discussing his sexuality again, confirming that he had been in long-term relationships with men throughout his life. Today, he's recognized not just as a music legend, but as a pioneer who paved the way for other black LGBTQ+ artists. Mathis's story is powerful, but our next name is even more controversial. He was one of the most beloved voices in R&B, but for decades, rumors about his personal life refused to fade. And what his closest friends revealed after his death changed everything. Number 2, Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross was the voice of romance. With hits like Never Too Much and Dance with My Father, he became one of the most celebrated R&B artists of all time. But despite singing about love and heartbreak, he never publicly spoke about his own relationships. And after his death, his closest friends confirmed what many had suspected for years. For decades, rumors surrounded Vandross's personal life. He never married, never had public relationships with women, and never addressed the speculation about his sexuality. Unlike some stars who left behind clues, Vandross kept everything private. So private that even his closest collaborators said they never saw him with a romantic partner. After his passing in 2005, some of his closest friends, including Patti LaBelle, spoke out. LaBelle revealed that Vandross had struggled deeply with his sexuality, fearing that coming out publicly could cost him his career and the love of his female fan base. In an interview, she said he did not want his mother to be embarrassed. He had a lot of lady fans, and he just didn't want to upset the world. His music made millions fall in love, but Vandross himself never got the chance to publicly express the love he may have wanted. His story is a heartbreaking example of how the music industry silenced LGBTQ+ artists. And now we arrive at the final name on our list. He was more than just a musician. He was a cultural icon, an activist, and a man whose story remains one of the most complex in Black Hollywood history. Number 1, Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson was a legend, a singer, actor, activist, and scholar who spoke out against racism long before the civil rights movement gained momentum. But what many people don't know is that his personal life was filled with hidden relationships, secret surveillance, and government interference. Robeson was married to Islanda Robeson, but many historians believe theirs was an open marriage. While he had public affairs with women, there have also been persistent rumors that he had secret relationships with men. Some claim that FBI surveillance on Robeson uncovered these relationships, but because of the time period, the information was never publicly confirmed. Robeson's political activism made him one of the most watched men in America. He spoke out against segregation, performed around the world, and supported labor movements. Because of this, the U.S. government saw him as a threat. His passport was revoked, and he was blacklisted in Hollywood. Some believe that the rumors about his personal life were used as a way to silence him and discredit his work. Whether Robeson had same-sex relationships or not, one thing is certain: his life was one of defiance, courage, and sacrifice. He remains one of the most important Black figures in history, and the details of his personal life remain one of Hollywood's greatest mysteries. Hollywood's secrets run deep, and this is just the beginning. If you want more shocking hidden stories, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and turn on notifications. More untold Hollywood history is coming your way. You won't want to miss it.